everybody, my name is Carmen, and today I'm going to talk about fear slightly. Fear is a broad subject. There's so much information out there about it. I'm only going to talk a little bit. It's going to be mostly personal experience, and that's that. So fear, from a medical point of view, I'm a massage therapist, and I have noticed a difference in between people that or clients that are suffering from an autoimmune disease versus the ones that are suffering from an injury or car crashes, stuff like that. The body responds differently. The people with autoimmune disease, it's a lot of the time the body responds better if you do more of a neurologically focused massage versus the injuries and the car crashes. Those are different. Those are more of a muscular focus massage and trying to fix muscles that either got damaged or it's super tight and rigid as a result of a trauma in an injury, in comparison to the autoimmune diseases, which seem to respond better to lighter massages and more focused around the central nervous system. That taught me so much, because a lot of autoimmune diseases come from a prolonged stressful environment, and in which it causes prolonged inflammation in the body, and thus the disease allows for the disease to flourish in a very acidic environment and weak autoimmune disease. Where does stress come from? Well, mostly, if not 100%, from fear. It's an emotion that we feel based on a perception that we have of something that happened or something that did not happen, and we're actually imagining. And now I'm moving from the medical into the personal. So I have had to live in, and I have operated in fear my entire life. And what happened is I've only recognized that in my mid-20s. From birth, I had a lot of trauma coming against me, from a premature birth to the doctor wanting to abort me after I was, born, to a lot of psychological and physical trauma, both in the household, parental-wise, and society, because I come from Eastern Europe, from a communist Marxist mentality, and I grew up in a Christian environment. So that persecution thing, added, of course, in schools was the same thing. And then I moved from Romania and my late teens to America into a 100% different culture and just nation, traditions, language, you name it, everything. And that was extremely stressful as well, even though it was a positive stress. The body does not differentiate between negative stress and positive stress. Stress is stress, and it really does damage the body if it's not absorbed properly. And so I came to America. Then I had 3 children. Pregnancies, as some of you know, are very hard on the body, so that is stress as well. And then my body started to give signs of breaking down emotionally due to the past traumas and current traumas too. There were some, there's a lot of toxic people out there, aren't there? And so there's been a lot of toxic people in my life, and the circumstances that were toxic were produced by toxic people. I didn't know any better, because around, like I said, mid-20s, I realized I actually fear was part of me so deeply because I didn't know better. I just didn't know better. That's all I've seen. And I was operating in a fight and flight response, sympathetic response, and no longer in a parasympathetic response, which is a relaxation. When the body relaxes, it heals. I was no longer doing that, and I was not aware I was no longer doing that. My neurotransmitters were messed up big time due to the trauma. From a DNA point of view, a lot of mutations when I was young, a lot of mutations in my DNA, happened, and I was operating in the fight and flight response constantly without allowing the body to heal, and move into a parasympathetic response, meaning, and we all need, I think we need more than we need the anger and the frustration. As a result, my body started breaking down. And emotionally, I was so wind up and so hurt and so damaged that it starts messing up with how you respond with, towards people and relationships and so on and so forth. You start hitting first and asking questions and later, which ends up turning you into a toxic person to somebody else. So some of the books that I read, this was my first one that, there's the author. It's an old book, but I love it, but has taught me so many things. First of all, made me aware of what was happening, and then also gives you answers to the fact that, hey, you can change things. The second book that I read, and I'm reading it again, is this book. I'm reading it again. It has a lot of medical information here, but it shows how what happens emotionally, and in the body when deadly toxins and emotions are around. I bought this book. I started and I never worked on it. I'm not sure why. I don't think I was ready for it, but I have it when I'm ready for it. And another really good book is this one that I read about half of it, and I'm in the process of reading all of it. But it's again from a medical point of view, which I understand way better. The emotions when it's explained also from a medical point of view. It works. I'm fascinated when the two of them connect. So how did I break down? My immune system collapsed in 2014 January completely, and well, not completely, otherwise I would be in the grave right now and not talk to you, but pretty bad. And found out I was diagnosed with chronic Lyme, neuro Lyme, multiple co-infections, you name it, they found it in me. Neurotransmitters, mutations, things that I no longer did, the body no longer made, central nervous system, that's neurotransmitters in the central nervous system, stuff like dopamine, serotonin, so on and so forth, chemicals that you have to produce in order to calm down. I was no longer operating like that. I was just a mean machine. And so many other things that we don't have time, and I don't want to bore you, and it's already long, it's already 9 minutes long, I don't want to bore you. But what happened is, and I'm going to try to speed up as fast as possible, what happened is I ended up being on the verge of death for months. I have been on intense treatment, and today, 2018, I'm doing way better, but still moving towards health. And the number one thing that I had to do is recognize that I have destroyed myself because I have allowed fear to coordinate and conduct my life more so than happiness and forgiveness. Actually, I didn't even know how to forgive, to tell the truth, because I'm like, I had so many things happening against. I'm like, people don't deserve forgiveness. That's kind of how I was. I'm like, if you deserve it, I'll forgive you, and as soon as you messed up, I'm not gonna forgive you, and I will unforgive you. So I had to recognize that I had an issue and start learning about it to change. But the number one was I had to forgive myself for allowing uh, certain circumstances and toxic people to um, hurt me and allowing them in my life, because I've learned that I had a choice. Before I was trained in such a manipulative way. It's narcissists are. Ugh. I was trained in such a and raised in such a manipulative way that it's almost like I didn't have a choice, and I had to accept the narcissists people in my life, do the best that I can, and continually feed their narcissistic ego and needs, and the heck with me, the heck with me. I was not as important as they were. And so I had to learn that I had a choice. I actually had a choice in saying no, and the fact that they were toxic. And I had to learn that there was such things as health and toxicity, and it was okay to eliminate the toxic, out of my life. Then I had to forgive myself for allowing such toxicity for such a prolonged period of time into my life and destroying me, because it was like, it's just like a piece of me constantly taken out. Nothing was left, and now I was left by myself with the people that loved me, and which is my husband and my children and my parents-in-law and my brothers and my sisters and tons of friends. I have wonderful people in my life, and I have good, healthy people too. And I had to focus on that and realize that there's such a good support system in my life that I have, and I don't have to worry about the toxic people. And then I had to make some not harsh decision, because they were the best decisions I've made in my life, but required in America you call it like a spine, like a strong spine, or just big balls or whatever. Got rid of 90% of our material stuff, got rid of the big house and everything, moved into a small apartment, loved it. Didn't, it's been 2.5 years, don't miss it one day. And break away from toxic people. And I still care in a way, about those people, but not enough for them to come back to with their toxicity. Now, if they heal and we can reunite in a healing kind of way, normal setting, that's fine. But as long as they don't heal or refuse, because I've noticed the narcissistic people don't think they have a problem, and they don't want to heal themselves. They just want to find another person to go and leech off of them, kind of like just a leech that constantly just sucks everything out. And they move from one person to another, to another, to another, until they die, I guess, or all the people that are nice die. I don't know. And so separate from that and reorder what's important and prioritize my life. But fear is a disease, and it's proven scientifically. Look, YouTube's tons of professionals out there where it shows from a medical point of view it's a disease, because stress is nothing else but based on a lot of fear. And stress is also, there is good stress too, but if you perceive it and you accept it in the wrong way and then a negative way, then it's even worse. So I will stop here because, oh my gosh, it's already 14 minutes and I think I've already bored you out of your mind. And wish you a great day, and hopefully you got some answers and things to be able to help you in your walk of life, and we'll talk to you later.